Fact 1. Sleep consolidation. Your brain consolidates memories while you sleep, transferring information from short-term to long-term storage. This process is one of sleep's most vital functions. During the day, your experiences create temporary neural patterns in the hippocampus. As night falls and you drift into slumber, your brain begins an intricate dance of memory consolidation. The neural patterns recorded during waking hours replay, like echoes in a canyon, strengthening the connections between neurons. This transfer moves information from the fragile temporary storage of the hippocampus to the more permanent archives distributed throughout the cortex. Without this nightly process, our memories would fade like footprints in sand, washed away by the tide of new experiences. Studies using brain imaging have captured this nocturnal activity, showing waves of coordinated firing across brain regions as memories solidify into lasting forms. Fact 2. The hippocampus. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure in your brain, acts as the central hub for forming new memories. This small but mighty region sits deep within the temporal lobes, one on each side of your brain. Ancient anatomists named it after the Greek word for seahorse due to its curved, distinctive shape. The hippocampus serves as a sort of librarian, cataloging and indexing new experiences before they're filed away in long-term storage throughout the cortex. Damage to this region can result in the inability to form new memories, though old memories often remain intact. The famous patient known as H.M., who had his hippocampus removed to treat epilepsy, could remember his childhood but couldn't form new lasting memories after the surgery. Every conversation was new to him, every person he met a stranger moments later. This revealed the hippocampus's critical role in bridging the present moment with our enduring sense of self and history. Fact 3. Distributed storage. Memories aren't stored in one place but distributed across different brain regions like a network. Unlike a computer hard drive with files stored in specific locations, your brain scatters the components of a single memory across vast neural territories. The visual aspects of a memory might reside in the occipital lobe, while sounds live in the auditory cortex, and emotions dwell in the limbic system. When you remember your grandmother's kitchen, the smell of her cookies activates your olfactory cortex, the sight of her yellow curtains lights up visual regions, the sound of her laughter resonates in auditory areas, and the warmth you felt glows in emotional centers. This distributed architecture makes memories resilient. If one region is damaged, other fragments often remain. It also explains why memories feel so rich and multidimensional, assembled in real time from scattered pieces each time you recall them, like an orchestra playing a symphony with instruments spread across a concert hall. Fact 4. Lavender and memory. The smell of lavender can enhance memory consolidation during sleep. This purple flower has been treasured for centuries, not just for its pleasant aroma, but for its calming and cognitive effects. Research has shown that exposure to lavender scent during sleep, particularly during slow-wave sleep, can strengthen the consolidation of memories learned before bedtime. The olfactory system has a unique direct pathway to memory centers in the brain, bypassing the relay station of the thalamus that other senses must pass through. This gives scent a special power to influence memory formation. In studies, participants who studied information and then slept in a room infused with lavender showed improved recall the next day compared to those who slept without the scent. The mechanism involves lavender's ability to promote deeper, more restful sleep stages where memory consolidation is most active, while also reducing stress hormones that can interfere with memory formation. Fact 5. Neural replay. Your brain replays experiences up to 20 times faster during sleep to strengthen memories. This phenomenon, called neural replay or reactivation, was first discovered in rats navigating mazes. Scientists recorded the firing patterns of neurons as rats explored new environments, then monitored those same neurons during sleep. Remarkably, the exact sequences fired again during rest, but compressed like a recording played at high speed. In humans, This replay happens during specific sleep stages, particularly during slow-wave sleep and the brief pauses between sleep cycles. The accelerated playback allows your brain to process hours of experiences in minutes, strengthening the synaptic connections that encode those memories. It's as if your brain is practicing and rehearsing the day's events in fast forward, cementing the neural pathways that will allow you to recall them later. This explains why a good night's sleep after learning something new can make such a dramatic difference in how well you remember it the next day. Fact 6. Protein synthesis. Memory formation requires protein synthesis, which is why sleep deprivation impairs learning. At the molecular level, memories are built from physical changes in your neurons. When you learn something new, genes are activated that produce specific proteins. These proteins travel to the synapses, the connection points between neurons, where they strengthen and stabilize the connections. This process takes time and metabolic resources. During sleep, your brain has the quiet, uninterrupted time to manufacture these memory proteins. When you're sleep deprived, this protein synthesis is disrupted, leaving memories weak and unstable. It's like trying to build a house with insufficient materials, the structure remains fragile and incomplete. Studies have shown that blocking protein synthesis in the brain prevents long-term memories from forming, even though short-term memory remains intact. This reveals that our memories are not ephemeral electrical patterns but physical, molecular structures requiring construction and maintenance. Fact 7. The cerebellum. The cerebellum stores memories of physical skills like riding a bike or playing piano. This wrinkled structure at the base of your brain, whose name means little brain in Latin, contains more neurons than the rest of your brain combined. While the hippocampus handles conscious, declarative memories, the cerebellum specializes in procedural memories, the how-to knowledge of physical skills and sequences. When you first learn to ride a bicycle, the movements feel awkward and require intense concentration. But through practice, the cerebellum gradually encodes these motor patterns into automatic programs. Eventually, you can ride without thinking about balancing, pedaling, or steering. The cerebellum executes these complex sequences below conscious awareness. This is why you never forget how to ride a bike, even after years away from cycling. The cerebellum's memories are remarkably durable, preserved even when other memory systems fail. Musicians, athletes, and craftspeople all rely on their cerebellum's vast library of embodied skills. Fact 8. Emotional memory. Emotional memories are processed by the amygdala, making them more vivid and lasting. This almond-shaped structure deep in your brain acts as an emotional sentinel, constantly scanning experiences for significance. When something emotionally important happens, whether joyful, frightening, or heartbreaking, the amygdala releases a cascade of neurochemicals that essentially tell your memory system remember this. This is why you can recall exactly where you were during major life events, but struggle to remember what you had for lunch last Tuesday. The amygdala's influence explains why emotional memories feel so vivid and detailed, even though research shows they're not necessarily more accurate than neutral memories, just more confidently remembered. This system evolved to help our ancestors survive by ensuring that emotionally significant events, particularly dangers and rewards, were deeply encoded and easily recalled. A close encounter with a predator or the location of a reliable food source were memories worth preserving with extra clarity and permanence. Fact 9. Brain storage capacity. Your brain has virtually unlimited storage capacity, estimated at about 2.5 petabytes. To put this in perspective, that's roughly equivalent to 3 million hours of television shows, or enough to record continuous video for over 300 years. Unlike a hard drive that fills up and needs to be cleared, your brain can continue forming new memories throughout your entire life without running out of space. This extraordinary capacity comes from the brain's flexible architecture. Each of your roughly 86 billion neurons can form thousands of connections with other neurons, creating a web of staggering complexity. And these connections aren't binary, they exist on a continuum of strengths, allowing each synapse to encode information in analog rather than digital form. The brain also employs efficient storage strategies, compressing similar memories and extracting general patterns rather than storing every detail redundantly. As you sleep tonight, rest assured that there's plenty of room in your mental library for all of tomorrow's experiences. Fact 10: Reconsolidation. Memories become more stable each time you recall them, a process called reconsolidation. But here's the fascinating twist: when you retrieve a memory, it briefly becomes unstable again before being stored anew. Each act of remembering is also an act of rewriting. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of memory. Scientists once thought memories, once consolidated, became permanent and unchangeable. But research revealed that recalled memories enter a temporary fragile state where they can be modified before reconsolidating. This explains why memories can shift subtly over time, incorporating new information or perspectives. When you reminisce with an old friend about a shared experience, your memory of that event may blend with their telling, creating a revised version that feels authentic but differs from the original. This reconsolidation process has therapeutic implications too. It's the basis for treatments that help people with PTSD by allowing traumatic memories to be recalled in safe contexts and reconsolidated with less emotional charge. Fact 11: Working memory capacity. The average person can hold about 7 items in working memory at once. This limited capacity, first identified by psychologist George Miller in the 1950s, is why phone numbers were traditionally 7 digits. Working memory is your mental workspace, the cognitive equivalent of a small desk where you temporarily hold and manipulate information. Try to juggle too many items at once and some will slip away. This limitation is actually adaptive. If working memory had unlimited capacity, you'd be overwhelmed by every stimulus competing for attention. The constraint forces your brain to prioritize, deciding what's worth holding in immediate awareness and what can be released or transferred to long-term storage. You can expand your effective working memory through a process called chunking, grouping individual items into meaningful units. A skilled chess player doesn't see 32 individual pieces but patterns and configurations, allowing them to hold much more information about the board state than a novice. As you drift toward sleep, your working memory gradually quiets, releasing its contents like opening your hands and letting sand slip through your fingers. Fact 12: Childhood amnesia. Your earliest memories typically form around age 3, a phenomenon called childhood amnesia. You existed before that age, of course, experiencing and learning constantly. But those early years leave little to no explicit memory. Scientists have several explanations for this puzzling gap. The hippocampus, crucial for forming lasting memories, is still developing in infancy and toddlerhood. The neural circuits necessary for encoding and retrieving autobiographical memories haven't fully matured. Additionally, early childhood involves rapid brain development and neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, which may overwrite earlier memory traces. Language also plays a role. Before you had words to encode and rehearse experiences, memories may have formed in a nonverbal format that's difficult to retrieve once language becomes your primary mode of thought. Some researchers suggest we do retain fragments of pre-verbal memories, but they're buried beneath layers of later experiences, accessible only as vague feelings or sensations rather than coherent narratives. Fact 13: The doorway effect. Walking through a doorway can cause temporary memory lapses, known as the doorway effect. You've experienced this: you walk from one room to another with a clear purpose, but as you cross the threshold, your intention evaporates. What did you come here for? This isn't just absent-mindedness, it's a quirk of how your brain organizes memory. Your mind segments experiences by context and location, creating mental boundaries around events. Doorways serve as these boundaries, signaling to your brain that one context has ended and another begins. When you cross that threshold, your brain files away the previous context and prepares for new information. The intention that was active in the previous room gets archived, sometimes too efficiently. Research confirms this effect occurs even in virtual environments, suggesting it's truly about the cognitive transition rather than something physical about doorways. The phenomenon reflects your brain's attempts to organize the continuous stream of experience into discrete, manageable episodes. Fact 14, Sleep Spindles. Sleep spindles, brief bursts of brain activity during sleep, protect memories from interference. These distinctive patterns appear on EEG readings as sudden, rapid oscillations lasting a second or two. They occur during stage 2 sleep, that light sleep that comprises about half of your night's rest. Sleep spindles act like guardians, shielding newly formed memories from disruption while consolidation occurs. Studies have found correlations between the number of sleep spindles you produce and your memory performance. People who naturally produce more spindles tend to have better memory, and increasing spindles through certain techniques can improve learning. These bursts of activity seem to coordinate communication between the hippocampus and the cortex, facilitating the transfer of memories from temporary to permanent storage. They also may suppress external sensory information from disturbing sleep, allowing the brain to focus inward on its memory work. As you sleep tonight, your brain will generate hundreds of these protective pulses, each one helping to preserve what you learned today. Fact 15, Sleep Duration and Memory. The more sleep you get after learning something, the better you will remember it. This relationship isn't linear. There's a threshold effect where very short sleep provides minimal benefit, but once you reach adequate sleep duration, memory consolidation flourishes. Multiple studies have demonstrated this by teaching participants new information, then varying how much sleep they get before testing recall. Those who sleep for a full night dramatically outperform those who stay awake or get only brief rest. Different sleep stages contribute uniquely to memory. Slow-wave sleep helps consolidate declarative memories like facts and events, while REM sleep appears crucial for procedural memories and emotional processing. The ideal sleep duration for memory consolidation aligns with the natural 7 to 9 hours most adults need. This isn't time wasted in unconsciousness but active processing time when your brain weaves new information into the fabric of existing knowledge, creating connections and patterns that will serve you for years to come. Fact 16, Memory Pruning. Your brain prunes unnecessary memories during sleep to make room for important information. This selective forgetting is as crucial as remembering. If you retained every trivial detail of every moment, your memory would become cluttered with useless information, making it harder to find what actually matters. During sleep, your brain reviews the day's experiences and makes decisions about what to keep and what to release. Emotionally significant events get preserved, information rehearsed or deemed important is strengthened, while routine and redundant details are allowed to fade. This process optimizes your memory system, maintaining its efficiency and relevance. It's like a gardener pruning a tree, cutting away dead branches so the healthy ones can flourish. The mechanism involves weakening synaptic connections associated with unimportant information while strengthening those linked to significant memories. This selective process explains why you might remember a meaningful conversation from years ago but forget where you parked this morning. Your brain has judged which information deserves precious neural resources. Fact 17, Calm Encoding. Memories are encoded more strongly when you're in a calm, relaxed state. Stress hormones like cortisol can interfere with the hippocampus's ability to form new memories, which is why it's hard to learn effectively when you're anxious or overwhelmed. In contrast, a state of relaxed attention creates optimal conditions for memory formation. Your prefrontal cortex can engage in the elaborative processing that creates rich, detailed memory traces, making connections between new information and existing knowledge. This is why studying in a panic right before an exam is far less effective than learning the material over time in a peaceful state. The brain's stress response evolved for immediate survival, not for learning. When facing danger, your ancestor needed to react instantly, not carefully encode the details for later reflection. That same stress response today shuts down the learning systems that operate best in safety and calm. So as you prepare for sleep tonight, notice how the relaxation spreading through your body creates ideal conditions for consolidating the day's memories. Fact 18, Handwriting and Memory. The act of handwriting activates memory circuits more effectively than typing. When you write by hand, you engage motor areas of the brain in addition to language processing regions. The physical act of forming letters, the spatial layout on the page, and the slower pace all contribute to deeper processing of information. Students who take notes by hand generally remember lecture content better than those who type, even when the typed notes are more complete. The constraint of slower handwriting forces you to summarize and paraphrase rather than transcribing verbatim, which requires comprehension and creates stronger memory traces. Handwriting also provides more sensory feedback, the texture of paper, the resistance of the pen, the visual trail of ink. These additional sensory dimensions create more neural connections associated with the information, offering more pathways for later retrieval. In our increasingly digital world, the ancient practice of putting pen to paper remains a powerful tool for learning and remembering. Fact 23, REM dreams and memory. Memories formed during REM sleep dreaming can integrate with waking experiences. During REM sleep, when most vivid dreaming occurs, your brain is remarkably active, consuming almost as much energy as during waking. This sleep stage appears crucial for processing emotional experiences and integrating new information with existing knowledge. The strange, associative nature of dreams may reflect your brain making novel connections between disparate memories, finding patterns and relationships that weren't obvious during waking thought. Some research suggests that when you dream about recently learned information, you remember it better the next day. The brain seems to be rehearsing and consolidating these memories during dreams. REM sleep may also allow your brain to extract general principles from specific experiences, creating abstract knowledge from concrete events. The bizarre scenarios dreams conjure might be your brain's way of testing various combinations and associations, strengthening useful connections while letting irrelevant ones fade, all while you're safely unconscious. Fact 24, Lunar influences. The moon's phases have been found to subtly influence sleep quality and memory. While many lunar effects remain controversial or have been debunked, some carefully controlled studies have detected small but measurable changes in sleep patterns across the lunar cycle. Sleep quality may decrease slightly during full moons, with people taking longer to fall asleep and experiencing less deep sleep. If these effects are real, the mechanisms remain unclear. Perhaps residual effects of ancient circadian rhythms entrained to lunar cycles, or subtle influences of moonlight penetrating even dark rooms. Any impact on memory would be indirect, mediated through sleep quality changes. Interestingly, even in laboratory settings with no moon visibility, some studies have detected correlations, suggesting possible biological sensitivity to lunar rhythms. The moon has long fascinated humans, appearing in countless myths about sleep, dreams, and madness. While modern science finds much smaller effects than folklore suggested, the moon's gentle influence on our sleep and memory reminds us that we remain connected to celestial rhythms. Fact 25, Neural patterns. Your brain uses the same neural pathways when remembering an event as when experiencing it. This discovery revealed that memory is not a passive playback but an active reconstruction. When you recall seeing a sunset, the visual cortex activates with similar patterns to when you actually watched that sunset. Remembering a song replays activity in auditory regions. This overlap explains why vivid memories feel almost like re-experiencing events. In a real sense, you are partially re-experiencing them at the neural level. However, memories are never perfect replicas. Each recall is an approximation, influenced by current context, emotions, and intervening experiences. The memory activates a subset of the original pattern, guided by retrieval cues and filled in with inferences and expectations. This system is efficient, allowing you to store gist and reconstruct details rather than maintaining perfect recordings of every moment. As you remember your day while drifting to sleep, your brain retraces the neural paths formed during those experiences, strengthening and consolidating them through reactivation. Fact 26, Repetition before sleep. Gentle repetition before sleep can improve memory retention by up to 50%. This finding has practical applications for students and anyone seeking to learn new information. The technique, sometimes called review before sleep, involves briefly reviewing material right before going to bed. This takes advantage of the fact that sleep immediately consolidates whatever was most recently encoded. The information sits at the front of the queue for overnight processing. The gentle aspect is important. This should be a calm review, not intense cramming that raises stress and arousal, making it harder to fall asleep. Just a few minutes of peaceful reflection on key points can significantly boost retention. The mechanism involves both the temporal proximity to sleep's consolidation processes and the reduced interference from new information. After your evening review, nothing else competes with those memories for consolidation resources. Your brain can devote the night's processing power to strengthening precisely what you want to remember. Fact 27, Blue and memory. The color blue has been shown to enhance memory performance in some studies. While results vary and the effects are modest, several experiments have found that people remember information better when it's presented on blue backgrounds or in blue text compared to other colors. The mechanism isn't entirely clear, but may relate to blue's calming effects and association with openness and reliability. Blue light also affects alertness and attention, though this must be balanced against its potential to disrupt sleep when encountered in the evening. Some researchers have found that blue hues improve memory for emotional material specifically, while having less effect on neutral information. The color may also enhance creativity and associative thinking by promoting a more relaxed, exploratory cognitive state. Blue's prevalence in nature, in sky and water, may have led to evolutionary associations with safety and space. As you prepare for sleep, the soft blue light at twilight signals your brain that the day is ending and rest approaches. Fact 28, Autobiographical Memory. Your autobiographical memory creates your sense of continuous identity over time. This special category of memory contains the story of your life, the experiences, achievements, relationships, and transformations that define who you are. Without autobiographical memory, you would wake each day as a stranger to yourself, untethered from your past. Patients with severe amnesia sometimes lose their sense of identity along with their memories, becoming uncertain about their personalities, preferences, and beliefs. Your life story isn't just stored passively, you actively construct and reconstruct it, emphasizing certain experiences while minimizing others, finding patterns and meanings that create narrative coherence. The autobiographical memory system draws on both episodic memory for specific events and semantic memory for general self-knowledge. It extends through time, linking past, present, and imagined future selves into a unified whole. As you reflect on your day before sleep, you're adding new chapters to your ongoing story, weaving today's experiences into the larger narrative of your life. Fact 29, Extended Consolidation. Memory consolidation continues for days and even weeks after initial learning. While the most intensive consolidation occurs during the first night's sleep after learning, the process extends far beyond. Memories undergo multiple rounds of consolidation, each strengthening different aspects. Immediate consolidation stabilizes the initial memory trace. Subsequent consolidation over following days and weeks integrates the new information with existing knowledge structures, creating connections and extracting patterns. This extended timeline explains why memories continue to feel more solid and become easier to recall over the first days and weeks after learning. It also means that sleep quality during this entire period affects how well information is retained, not just the first night. Memories are gradually transferred from the hippocampus to the cortex in a process called systems consolidation, which can take weeks to years. This progressive transfer explains why recent memories are more vulnerable to disruption than older ones, and why hippocampal damage affects recent memories more than remote ones. Fact 30, Default Mode Network. The brain's default mode network, active during rest, processes and organizes memories. This network, discovered accidentally when researchers noticed consistent patterns of brain activity during rest periods in experiments, activates when you're not focused on external tasks. It includes regions involved in self-reflection, memory retrieval, and imagining the future. When your mind wanders, when you daydream, when you simply rest quietly with eyes closed, the default mode network engages in important background processing. It reviews and consolidates memories, makes connections between disparate pieces of information, and constructs narratives from fragmented experiences. This network's activity explains why insights often arise during rest rather than intense focus. The relaxed, internally oriented state allows your brain to work with memories and knowledge in fluid, creative ways. Modern life's constant stimulation may deprive this network of adequate processing time. As you lie in bed tonight, releasing external focus and allowing your mind to drift, you're giving your default mode network the space it needs to organize and integrate the day's experiences. Fact 31, Musical Memories. Memories associated with music are often more durable and easier to recall. Music engages multiple brain systems simultaneously: auditory processing, emotion, motor areas, and memory circuits. This distributed engagement creates robust, multidimensional memory traces. Songs from your adolescence and young adulthood tend to be especially memorable, a phenomenon called the reminiscence bump. Music from this formative period becomes woven into your identity and life story. Even in advanced dementia, musical memories often remain accessible when other memories have faded. Alzheimer's patients who can't remember family members might still sing songs from their youth. The temporal structure of music, with its rhythm and melody, provides retrieval cues that guide memory. A song unfolds in time, each moment cueing the next, creating a chain of associations that supports recall. This is why it's easier to remember song lyrics than to memorize the same words as prose. Music also modulates emotion and arousal, creating optimal states for encoding and retrieval. Fact 32, Emotional Priority. Your brain prioritizes emotional memories for consolidation during sleep. Not all experiences receive equal processing during the night. Your brain triages memories, allocating limited consolidation resources to what matters most. The amygdala marks emotionally significant events, essentially tagging them as important. During sleep, memories with these emotional tags receive preferential treatment, being replayed and strengthened more than neutral memories. This explains why you might clearly remember an embarrassing moment from years ago but forget countless unremarkable days. The system evolved to ensure that emotionally meaningful experiences, threats, opportunities, social triumphs and failures, were carefully preserved. These events carried information crucial for survival and social navigation. While the specific content of emotional memories isn't always accurate, the brain's bias toward preserving them makes evolutionary sense. As you sleep tonight, your most emotionally charged experiences from the day will receive extra consolidation, becoming part of your permanent memory while mundane moments fade into the background. Fact 33, Adaptive Forgetting. The act of forgetting is actually adaptive, helping you focus on relevant information. Forgetting feels like a failure, but it's actually a sophisticated process that keeps your memory system efficient and functional. If you remembered everything with equal clarity, your mind would be cluttered with obsolete and irrelevant details, making it harder to think and make decisions. Forgetting allows your brain to declutter, removing outdated information and reducing interference when you try to recall what currently matters. This process is selective and intelligent, not random decay. Your brain considers factors like recency, frequency of use, emotional significance, and relevance to current goals when deciding what to maintain and what to release. Forgetting also enables generalization and abstraction. By letting specific details fade, you retain the general principles and patterns that apply across situations. The forgetting that occurs during sleep is particularly adaptive, as your brain reviews the day's experiences and decides what's worth keeping for the future. What fades away wasn't meant to last. Fact 34, Memory Abstraction. Memory traces become more abstract over time, retaining meaning while losing details. Fresh memories contain rich perceptual details, the exact words someone spoke, the specific shade of a color, the precise sequence of events. But as time passes, these details gradually fade while the essential meaning remains. You might remember that a friend told you surprising news but forget exactly how they phrased it. You recall the theme of a conversation but not the verbatim dialogue. This transformation from detailed to abstract is functional, not simply decay. Abstract memories are more flexible and generalizable, useful across a broader range of situations. They contain the gist, the takeaway, the lesson rather than the specifics of one instance. This process, called semanticization, allows you to build conceptual knowledge from episodic experiences. Your memory of hundreds of restaurant visits doesn't consist of perfectly preserved records of each meal but rather abstract knowledge about what restaurants are, how they work, and what to expect. Fact 35, Semantic memory. Semantic memory stores general knowledge, like knowing Paris is in France. This memory system contains facts, concepts, and general knowledge about the world, separate from your memory of when and where you learned this information. You know Paris is the capital of France, but probably don't remember the specific moment you learned this fact. Semantic memory is the foundation of your understanding, the meanings of words, the properties of objects, historical facts, mathematical principles. Unlike episodic memory, which grounds information in specific contexts, semantic memory is abstract and decontextualized. The two systems interact. Episodic experiences gradually transform into semantic knowledge through repeated exposure and consolidation. The first time you saw a dog, it was a specific episodic memory. After encountering many dogs, you extracted the general concept of dog into semantic memory. This system allows efficient knowledge storage. Rather than remembering every individual dog you've seen, you maintain the abstracted concept that applies to all dogs. Fact 36, Procedural memory. Your procedural memory operates largely outside conscious awareness. Also called implicit or motor memory, this system stores skills and procedures: how to ride a bike, type on a keyboard, tie your shoes. Unlike declarative memories that you can consciously recall and describe, procedural memories manifest as performance. You demonstrate them by doing. Try to verbally explain exactly how you tie your shoes, and you'll likely struggle despite having done it thousands of times. Your hands know the procedure even when your conscious mind can't articulate it. Procedural memories form slowly through repetition but become remarkably durable. They also resist the disruptions that affect other memory systems. The amnesia that destroys episodic memories often leaves procedural memories intact. This dissociation reveals that different neural systems support different types of memory, each with distinct characteristics and vulnerabilities. Tonight, as you move through your bedtime routine, notice how many actions occur automatically, guided by procedural memories you don't consciously access. Fact 37, Sleep efficiency. The brain uses less energy during sleep but accomplishes critical memory work. This apparent paradox reveals sleep's efficiency. While metabolic rate decreases during sleep, the brain remains active, particularly during dreaming and consolidation. The energy savings come from reduced sensory processing, decreased muscle tension, and lower body temperature. This conserved energy can be devoted to internal processes like memory consolidation, cellular repair, and waste clearance. During waking hours, your brain must balance multiple demands, processing sensory input, controlling movement, making decisions, regulating emotion. These activities consume significant resources, leaving less capacity for the slow work of consolidating and organizing memories. Sleep frees your brain from external demands, creating protected time for internal housekeeping. The brain's nighttime activity isn't random but purposefully directed toward maintenance and consolidation. This explains why adequate sleep is essential for memory. It's not just rest but active processing time when your brain works through the day's experiences, deciding what to keep and how to organize it. Fact 38, Multisensory memories. Memories linked to multiple senses are encoded more deeply. A memory formed through sight alone is relatively fragile. But add sound, smell, touch, and emotional sensation, and that memory becomes robust and durable. This principle reflects how your brain naturally integrates information. In real life, experiences engage multiple senses simultaneously, creating rich, interconnected neural patterns. When you recall a multisensory memory, activating one sensory component can trigger others. Hearing a song might bring back the smell of a place, or a scent might conjure visual images. This sensory interconnection creates multiple pathways to the same memory, making it more accessible and resistant to forgetting. Educational research confirms this. Learning that engages multiple modalities, seeing, hearing, doing, produces better retention than single-channel learning. The memory of your grandmother's kitchen endures not because of any single sense but because of the integrated whole, the visual warmth of afternoon light, the sound of her voice, the smell of baking, the texture of her hand. These sensory threads weave together into memories that last a lifetime, each thread strengthening the others. Fact 39, Immune System and Memory. Your immune system affects memory formation through inflammatory signals. The connection between body and mind runs deeper than most realize. When you're fighting an infection, inflammatory molecules called cytokines circulate through your bloodstream and can cross into the brain. These molecules influence neural function, often impairing memory formation and recall. This is why you might feel mentally foggy when you're sick. It's not just the discomfort but actual interference with cognitive processes. The relationship works both ways. Chronic stress can activate inflammatory pathways that impair memory, while good sleep and healthy lifestyle choices support both immune function and memory. Your gut microbiome also plays a role, producing molecules that influence both immunity and brain function. The ancient Greeks weren't entirely wrong when they spoke of bodily humors affecting the mind. Modern science reveals intricate biochemical pathways linking physical health to cognitive function, reminding us that memory isn't purely a brain phenomenon but emerges from the integrated function of the entire body. Fact 40, Acetylcholine. The neurotransmitter acetylcholine plays a crucial role in encoding new memories. This chemical messenger facilitates communication between neurons and is particularly concentrated in brain regions involved in learning and memory. When acetylcholine levels are high, your brain enters a state optimized for encoding, attention sharpens, sensory processing enhances, and neural plasticity increases. During waking hours, acetylcholine helps you attend to and encode new experiences. Interestingly, acetylcholine levels drop during certain sleep stages, which may allow the brain to shift from encoding mode to consolidation mode. The relationship between acetylcholine and memory was discovered partly through studying drugs that block this neurotransmitter, which cause profound memory impairments. Conversely, enhancing acetylcholine function can improve memory in some contexts. As you age, acetylcholine-producing neurons can degenerate, contributing to memory decline. Diseases like Alzheimer's involve severe loss of these neurons, which is why medications that boost acetylcholine are used as treatments, attempting to support the remaining memory circuits. Fact 41, Selective Sleep Consolidation. Memory consolidation during sleep is selective, preserving what the brain deems important. Your brain doesn't blindly strengthen all memories equally during the night. It makes sophisticated judgments about what deserves consolidation resources. Information you've marked as important, either explicitly through intention or implicitly through attention and emotion, receives preferential processing. Memories you've rehearsed or thought about are flagged as significant. Information relevant to future goals gets priority. This selectivity is adaptive. With limited time and metabolic resources, your brain must choose wisely. The selection process considers multiple factors: emotional salience, novelty, relevance to existing knowledge, expected future utility, and how often you've accessed the information. This explains why you might forget where you put your keys but remember an interesting fact from a podcast. Your brain judged the fact worth keeping and the key location disposable once you found them. As you sleep tonight, this intelligent triage continues, sorting through the day's experiences and deciding what will endure. Fact 42, Gut-Brain Axis. Your gut microbiome can influence memory through the gut-brain axis. The trillions of bacteria residing in your digestive system aren't just along for the ride, they actively communicate with your brain through multiple pathways. These microbes produce neurotransmitters, including serotonin and GABA, that can influence mood and cognition. They generate metabolites that enter circulation and affect brain function. The vagus nerve provides a direct communication highway from gut to brain. Research has shown that the composition of gut bacteria correlates with memory performance, and that altering the microbiome through diet or probiotics can influence cognitive function. Stress affects gut bacteria, which then influence brain chemistry, creating a feedback loop. This ancient symbiotic relationship means your memory is shaped not just by your own neurons but by the microbial community you host. The food you eat feeds both you and your microbiome, influencing the biochemical environment in which memories form. A healthy gut supports a healthy mind, including the delicate processes of memory formation and consolidation. Fact 43, Semanticization. Memories become generalized over time through a process called semanticization. Your rich, detailed episodic memories gradually transform into abstract semantic knowledge. The specific birthday party you attended at age 7 becomes part of your general understanding of what birthday parties are. The unique characteristics of that particular event fade while the common elements merge with other similar experiences to form generalized knowledge. This transformation is functional. It allows you to extract patterns and principles that apply broadly rather than being tied to specific instances. Your brain is essentially a pattern extraction machine, constantly looking for regularities across experiences. Semanticization is one way it builds this abstract knowledge. The process involves a gradual shift in the brain regions supporting a memory, from hippocampus-dependent episodic traces to cortical semantic networks. Old memories become less context-dependent and more flexible. The price of this flexibility is the loss of vivid detail, but the gain is wisdom, general knowledge that guides behavior across many situations. Fact 44, Glymphatic system. The brain's glymphatic system clears metabolic waste during sleep, supporting memory. This recently discovered system acts like a waste removal service for your brain. During waking hours, your neurons are busy processing information, and this activity generates metabolic byproducts that accumulate in the brain. During sleep, particularly deep sleep, the glymphatic system activates. Brain cells actually shrink slightly, creating more space between them. Cerebrospinal fluid flows through these spaces, flushing out accumulated waste products including proteins that can form harmful aggregates. This cleaning process is essential for brain health and function. When waste products accumulate, they interfere with neural communication and memory formation. Some of these proteins, like beta-amyloid, are implicated in Alzheimer's disease. Poor sleep impairs glymphatic clearance, allowing toxins to build up over time. This connection between sleep, waste clearance, and memory reveals another reason why sleep is non-negotiable for cognitive health. Your brain literally needs this nightly cleaning cycle to function optimally the next day. Fact 45, Expanding working memory. Your working memory capacity can be gently expanded through mindful practice. While the basic limitation of 7 ± 2 items is fairly stable, you can improve how effectively you use this limited space. Training exercises that challenge working memory, like n-back tasks or complex span tasks, can produce modest improvements. More importantly, you can develop strategies that maximize your effective capacity. Chunking information into meaningful units increases what you can hold. Using external aids like writing notes offloads information from working memory, freeing capacity for processing. Reducing cognitive load through habits and routines preserves working memory for novel challenges. Mindfulness meditation has been shown to improve working memory, possibly by enhancing attention control and reducing mind wandering. The key word is gently. Forcing and straining are counterproductive. Like developing any skill, improving working memory requires patient, consistent practice. As you prepare for sleep, notice how releasing the contents of working memory feels, letting go of the mental juggling and allowing your mind to empty and rest. Fact 46, Personal meaning. Memories are more easily formed when you're learning something personally meaningful. Information that connects to your goals, values, interests, or existing knowledge gets encoded more deeply than arbitrary facts. This principle reflects how memory evolved, to support survival and goal pursuit, not to record everything indiscriminately. When something matters to you, attention automatically focuses, emotional systems engage, and elaborative processing occurs naturally. You spontaneously make connections to what you already know, create examples, and think about implications. All of this deep processing creates robust memory traces with multiple retrieval routes. In contrast, trying to memorize meaningless information requires effortful strategies to compensate for the lack of natural engagement. This is why learning is easiest when studying topics you care about and why making material personally relevant improves retention. When you can answer "Why does this matter to me?" about information, your brain treats it as worth remembering. As you reflect on your day, the moments that carried personal significance are already flagged for consolidation. Fact 47, Sleep Temperature. The temperature of your sleeping environment affects memory consolidation quality. Your body temperature naturally drops during sleep, and this cooling appears important for optimal brain function. A bedroom that's too warm can disrupt sleep architecture. Reducing time in deep sleep stage is crucial for memory consolidation. Most sleep experts recommend a cool room, typically between 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 19 degrees Celsius, for optimal sleep. The temperature drop triggers physiological changes that facilitate the transition into deep sleep. Interestingly, while your core body temperature drops, warming your extremities, like wearing socks, can actually help by promoting heat dissipation from your core. The relationship between temperature and memory consolidation isn't perfectly understood, but disrupted sleep from uncomfortable temperatures clearly impairs the consolidation process. Some research suggests that the brain's temperature regulation during sleep might directly affect the molecular processes underlying memory storage. As you settle into your cool, comfortable bed tonight, your body's temperature regulation systems are preparing the optimal conditions for a night of memory consolidation. Fact 48, Sensory Memory Duration. Your brain can hold sensory memories for just seconds before they fade. These fleeting impressions represent the first stage of memory processing. When light hits your retina or sound reaches your ears, the sensory information lingers briefly in sensory memory, iconic memory for visual information, echoic memory for sounds. This buffer holds the raw sensory data for a fraction of a second to a few seconds, giving your brain time to decide what deserves further processing. Most sensory input never makes it beyond this stage. It flickers into awareness and vanishes, like reflections on water. Only information that captures your attention gets transferred to working memory for further processing and potential storage. This filtering is essential. Without it, you'd be overwhelmed by the constant flood of sensory stimulation. Sensory memory demonstrates that remembering is an active, selective process beginning at the very first moment of perception. Most of what reaches your senses doesn't become memory at all, fading away unnoticed and unrecorded. Fact 49, Emotional Arousal. Emotional arousal releases norepinephrine, which strengthens memory formation. When something emotionally significant happens, whether exciting, frightening, or moving, your body's arousal system activates. The neurotransmitter norepinephrine floods through your brain, essentially sending a signal that says this matters, remember it. This chemical enhancement explains why emotional memories feel more vivid and are recalled more easily. The amygdala, your brain's emotional center, has extensive connections to memory systems and modulates their function based on emotional significance. This mechanism evolved to ensure that emotionally important events, potential threats, opportunities, social encounters, were well remembered. However, the system is somewhat crude. High arousal strengthens memory formation regardless of whether you want to remember the event. This explains why traumatic memories can be intensely persistent even when you'd prefer to forget. As you wind down for sleep, your arousal levels naturally decrease, creating a calm state where memories can consolidate without the intensity of the emotional moment. Fact 50, Memory Schemas. Memory schemas help you understand and remember new information by connecting to existing knowledge. A schema is a mental framework organizing related information. You have schemas for restaurants, airports, job interviews, birthday parties, organized knowledge about how these situations typically unfold. When you encounter a new instance, your schema provides a structure for understanding and encoding the experience. This dramatically reduces the memory load. Instead of encoding every detail from scratch, you note how this particular instance matches or differs from your schema. Schemas make memory efficient but can also introduce distortions. Your memory of an event might blend what actually happened with what typically happens in that situation. Witnesses to crimes sometimes remember details that fit their crime schema even if those details weren't present. Despite this vulnerability, schemas are essential for efficient memory and comprehension. They allow you to navigate a complex world with finite cognitive resources, filling in gaps and making sense of incomplete information. Fact 51: Sleep protection. The act of sleeping after learning protects memories from interference by new information. Once you've encoded new information, it remains vulnerable to disruption. If you continue taking in new information, it can interfere with the not yet consolidated memories, overwriting or confusing them. Sleep provides a protected period where no new encoding occurs, allowing consolidation to proceed without interference. This explains why sleeping shortly after studying produces better retention than staying awake and engaging in other activities. The sleep doesn't just allow consolidation, it prevents interference. Studies have compared groups who sleep immediately after learning versus groups who stay awake for the same duration. The sleep group consistently shows superior retention, and the benefit can't be explained by time alone. The wakeful brain continues encoding new experiences, creating interference, while the sleeping brain works exclusively on consolidating what's already been learned. This protective function of sleep reveals that memory formation doesn't end with initial encoding but requires a period of protected consolidation. Fact 52: Serial position effect. Your brain naturally remembers beginnings and endings better than middles. This phenomenon, called the serial position effect, combines two patterns: the primacy effect, better recall of early items, and the recency effect, better recall of recent items. When you hear a list of words or experience a sequence of events, the first and last items enjoy advantages. Early items receive more rehearsal and attention before interference from later items. Recent items remain in working memory at the time of recall. Items in the middle suffer from interference on both sides. Earlier items interfere backward and later items interfere forward. This pattern appears across many contexts. You remember the beginning and end of books, conversations, and meetings most clearly. Knowing about this effect has practical applications. When presenting information, put the most important points at the beginning and end. When studying, give extra attention to material in the middle of sessions. As you review your day before sleep, you might notice this pattern. The morning and evening stand out while afternoon events blur together. Fact 53: Prospective memory. Prospective memory helps you remember to do things in the future. Unlike retrospective memory, which involves recalling the past, prospective memory is oriented toward future actions. Remembering to take medication at 8 p.m., to call someone tomorrow, to stop for groceries on the way home, these all require prospective memory. This system must hold intentions across time delays and then trigger them at the appropriate moment. It involves two components: remembering that you need to do something and remembering when to do it. Prospective memory failures are common and can range from trivial, forgetting to buy milk, to serious, forgetting to take important medication. These failures often occur because prospective memories must compete with whatever you're currently engaged in. You need some cue to interrupt ongoing activity and bring the intention to mind. People use various strategies to support prospective memory: setting alarms, leaving objects in visible locations, establishing routines. Interestingly, prospective memory shows different aging patterns than other memory types, sometimes remaining relatively preserved while other abilities decline. Fact 54: Time and interference. The passage of time doesn't decay memories as much as interference from new experiences. Early memory researchers believed memories simply faded with time, like photographs yellowing. But research revealed that interference, not time alone, causes most forgetting. If you learn something and then sleep or rest quietly, you'll remember it much better than if you stay active and learn other things, even after the same time interval. New learning interferes with old learning in two ways: retroactive interference. New learning disrupts old memories, and proactive interference. Old learning makes it harder to learn new similar information. This interference-based view of forgetting explains many phenomena. It's why similar information is easily confused. It's why you might forget someone's name after learning many new names. It's why sleep, which minimizes new encoding, protects memories so effectively. As you settle into stillness tonight, you're creating a low-interference environment where memories can consolidate without competition from new experiences. Fact 55, Suggestion and Memory. Your memory can be influenced by the expectations and suggestions of others. Memory isn't a faithful recording but reconstruction influenced by many factors, including social influence. When someone suggests that an event happened a certain way, that suggestion can infiltrate your memory, making you remember things that didn't occur or altering details of what did. This malleability has important implications. Eyewitness testimony, once considered highly reliable, is now recognized as vulnerable to suggestion from leading questions. Children's memories are particularly susceptible to suggestion, though adults are vulnerable too. The mechanism involves source confusion. You might recall information but misattribute where it came from, mistaking something suggested by others for your own memory. This doesn't mean memory is completely unreliable, but it operates differently than intuition suggests. It's constructive rather than reproductive, assembling memories from various sources rather than playing back recordings. Understanding this vulnerability helps you interpret your memories with appropriate humility while remaining confident about their general reliability. Fact 56, Evolutionary Memory. The brain's memory systems evolved to help our ancestors survive, not to record everything. Understanding memory's evolutionary context illuminates its characteristics. Natural selection shaped memory to support survival and reproduction, not to create accurate historical records. This explains many features that seem like bugs but are actually adaptive. The bias toward emotional memories makes sense. Emotionally significant events often had survival implications. The tendency to forget details while retaining gist is efficient. General principles are more useful than specific instances. The malleability of memory allows updating based on new information rather than being bound to outdated representations. Memory's selectivity prevents information overload. Even memory's fallibility has benefits. Forgetting frees cognitive resources and enables generalization. Your memory system wasn't designed for modern challenges like remembering passwords or exam material but for ancestral environments where remembering food locations, recognizing individuals, and learning from dangers were crucial. When memory seems to fail, it's often succeeding at its evolutionary function, just not at the task you want it for. Fact 57, Context-dependent memory. Contextual cues from the environment where you learned something aid recall. Memory is associated not just with the information itself but with the context surrounding learning, the physical environment, your emotional state, even your physical position. When you return to that context, recall becomes easier because the context serves as a retrieval cue. This explains why visiting your childhood home can unleash floods of memories. The physical environment reinstates the original encoding context. Divers who learn information underwater recall it better underwater than on land, and vice versa. Students sometimes perform better on exams in the same room where they studied. This principle has practical applications. Study in varied locations to reduce context dependency, or study in conditions similar to where you'll need to recall. Context dependence also explains state-dependent memory. Information learned in a particular mood or physiological state is recalled more easily when you return to that state. As you lie in your familiar bed tonight, this context supports accessing memories formed in this same peaceful state. Fact 58, Physical memory changes. Memory formation involves physical changes in synapses between neurons. Memory isn't abstract or immaterial but physically encoded in your brain's structure. When you learn something, the connections between specific neurons strengthen through various molecular mechanisms. The synapse, the tiny gap where one neuron communicates with another, undergoes structural and functional changes. Receptor molecules on the receiving neuron increase in number, making it more responsive. The synapse may grow larger, increasing the contact area. Entirely new synapses can form, creating connections that didn't exist before. These physical changes, collectively called synaptic plasticity, are the biological basis of memory. They persist over time, allowing memories to endure. The phrase neurons that fire together wire together captures this process. When two neurons are repeatedly active together, their connection strengthens. This physical remodeling requires protein synthesis and metabolic resources, which is why sleep and nutrition affect memory. Your memories are literally part of your brain's architecture, encoded in the pattern of billions of synaptic connections. Fact 63, Spaced learning. Memory consolidation is enhanced when learning is spaced out over time. This spacing effect is one of the most robust findings in memory research. Studying information in multiple shorter sessions separated by time produces better retention than massed practice, cramming everything into one long session. The spacing allows each study session to benefit from consolidation between sessions. Each time you return to material, you partially forget and must retrieve it again, and this effortful retrieval strengthens memory more than passive review. Spacing also provides opportunities for memories to integrate with other knowledge encountered between sessions. The optimal spacing interval depends on how long you need to remember. For long-term retention, longer intervals are better. This principle applies beyond academic learning to skill development and habit formation. Unfortunately, spacing feels less effective in the moment than cramming. After massed practice, information is highly accessible, creating an illusion of learning that doesn't translate to long-term retention. Trust the research, spread your learning out, even though concentrated practice feels more productive in the moment. Fact 64, Glucose and memory. The brain uses glucose during memory formation, which is why low blood sugar impairs memory. Your brain, though only about 2% of body weight, consumes roughly 20% of your body's energy. Memory formation is metabolically expensive, encoding information, consolidating it during sleep, maintaining synaptic connections all require fuel. Glucose, the brain's primary energy source, is essential for these processes. When blood sugar drops too low, cognitive functions including memory suffer. You might notice difficulty concentrating, trouble recalling information, and impaired learning when you're hungry. However, the relationship isn't simply more glucose equals better memory. Chronically elevated blood sugar, as in poorly controlled diabetes, actually impairs memory and can damage the hippocampus over time. The key is stable, appropriate glucose levels. This is one reason why regular, balanced meals support cognitive function better than irregular eating or high-sugar foods that cause spikes and crashes. As you sleep tonight, your body carefully regulates blood sugar, ensuring your brain has the steady fuel supply needed for the night's memory consolidation work. Fact 65, Subjective time. Your memory of time passing can compress or expand based on how novel experiences are. When experiencing something new and engaging, time seems to slow down, moments feel extended and rich. But in retrospect, novel periods feel like they passed quickly because so many distinct memories were formed. Routine, familiar periods show the opposite pattern. Time seems to pass quickly in the moment because you're not fully attending, but in retrospect these periods feel short or even non-existent because few distinct memories were created. This explains why childhood seems to last forever. Looking back, everything was novel, creating dense memories that make time feel extended. As adults settling into routines, years can fly by with few memorable moments to mark their passage. The subjective speed of time relates to memory density. Breaking routine and seeking novel experiences not only makes life feel longer in retrospect but also provides the material for a richer autobiographical memory. As you reflect on your day, you might notice that the novel moments stand out while routine periods blur together, compressed by memory's efficiency. Fact 66, Adult neurogenesis. Neurogenesis in the hippocampus continues throughout life, supporting new memories. For decades, neuroscience held that you were born with all the neurons you'd ever have, and they only declined with age. This dogma has been overturned. The hippocampus continues producing new neurons throughout life, a process called adult neurogenesis. These new neurons integrate into existing circuits and appear particularly important for forming new memories and distinguishing similar experiences. Factors that enhance neurogenesis include exercise, learning, enriched environments, and certain antidepressants. Factors that inhibit it include stress, sleep deprivation, and aging. The discovery of adult neurogenesis suggests that cognitive decline with age isn't inevitable but can be influenced by lifestyle. It also provides hope for recovery from brain injury and treatment of neurological conditions. These newborn neurons in your adult brain represent ongoing plasticity and potential. Your brain isn't a fixed structure but remains dynamic and capable of generating new cells that contribute to your memory and cognitive function. This ongoing renewal means that your capacity for new memories need not diminish but can be supported throughout life. Fact 67, Retrieval Malleability. The act of retrieving a memory makes it temporarily malleable before reconsolidating. This discovery challenged the assumption that recalled memories simply return to storage unchanged. Instead, bringing a memory to mind opens a window during which it can be modified before it's restored to long-term storage. During this reconsolidation window, the memory is vulnerable to interference, new information, and even erasure. But it's also an opportunity for updating memories with new information or changing their emotional charge. Therapies for PTSD and phobias leverage this process, repeatedly recalling traumatic memories in safe contexts and pairing them with new associations can reduce their emotional impact during reconsolidation. This malleability during retrieval explains why memories can shift over time, especially frequently recalled memories that pass through multiple cycles of retrieval and reconsolidation. Each time you remember an event, you're not accessing a static record but reconstructing it, and that reconstruction can be influenced by your current state, beliefs, and experiences, subtly reshaping the memory each time. Fact 68, The Forgetting Curve. Your brain naturally forgets about 50% of new information within an hour without reinforcement. This rapid initial forgetting, described by Hermann Ebbinghaus over a century ago, shows that new memories are fragile. Most new information doesn't survive the first hour unless it's reinforced through review, emotional significance, or connection to existing knowledge. The forgetting curve levels off after this initial steep decline. Information that survives the first day has a good chance of lasting much longer. This pattern reflects the memory system's efficiency. The brain essentially tests new information. Is it reinforced? Does it recur? Is it important? Information that fails these tests is allowed to fade quickly, conserving resources for memories that prove their worth. Understanding this curve has practical implications. Review material within the first hour to significantly boost retention. Don't be discouraged if information seems to slip away rapidly at first. This is normal. The material that survives initial forgetting with reinforcement becomes progressively more stable, eventually lasting years or a lifetime. Fact 69, Confidence and Accuracy. Memory confidence doesn't always correlate with memory accuracy. You can be absolutely certain about a memory and yet be wrong. This dissociation between confidence and accuracy is unsettling but well established. The feeling of remembering, the subjective sense of memory strength, operates somewhat independently from actual accuracy. Factors like vividness, emotional intensity, and fluency of retrieval increase confidence but don't guarantee accuracy. This explains why eyewitnesses can be confidently wrong, why people vehemently defend false memories, and why you might feel certain about details that didn't happen. The brain uses heuristics to assess memory accuracy. Does it feel vivid? Does it come to mind easily? Does it have emotional charge? But these signals can mislead. False memories can feel just as real as true ones. This doesn't mean you should distrust all memories, but it suggests appropriate humility. When remembering, consider not just how confident you feel but whether you have external corroboration and whether the memory might have been influenced by suggestion, inference, or imagination. Fact 70, Prefrontal Organization. The prefrontal cortex organizes memories chronologically and categorically. This region at the front of your brain serves executive functions including organizing and retrieving memories. When you try to remember when something happened, your prefrontal cortex searches through temporally organized memory traces. When you try to recall all instances of a category, all the restaurants you've visited, or people named John you've known, it searches categorical organizations. The prefrontal cortex doesn't store memories themselves but maintains organizational frameworks that allow efficient retrieval. Damage to this region impairs memory organization while leaving the memories themselves intact. Patients might remember individual events but struggle to place them in temporal sequence or to strategically search memory. This region also handles source monitoring, determining where information came from, and reality monitoring, distinguishing imagined from experienced events. As your prefrontal cortex settles into the reduced activity of sleep, its organizational frameworks remain ready to help you access tomorrow what you consolidated tonight. Fact 71, Encoding State. Your state of mind during encoding affects how easily you'll recall information later. This principle, called state-dependent memory, reveals that memory is tied not just to information but to the context in which you learned it. If you study while drinking coffee, you might recall better with caffeine in your system. If you learn something in a particular mood, that mood can serve as a retrieval cue. This extends to physical states, location, even ambient sounds. The overlap between encoding and retrieval contexts facilitates recall. This isn't absolute, you can certainly remember across different states, but matching states provides an advantage. The mechanism likely involves the brain associating information with the entire constellation of internal and external conditions present during learning. When those conditions recur, they trigger associated memories. This principle suggests benefits to varying your study contexts so memories don't become too dependent on specific states. It also explains why memories sometimes return unexpectedly when you randomly encounter the state in which they were formed. Fact 72, Neural replay during rest. Memory traces are strengthened by the replay of neural patterns during quiet rest. This consolidation doesn't require sleep, even brief wakeful rest periods facilitate memory strengthening. When you finish learning something and then close your eyes and rest quietly, your brain spontaneously reactivates the neural patterns associated with what you just learned. This replay, similar to what happens during sleep but occurring while awake, strengthens the synaptic connections encoding the information. Studies show that just 10 to 15 minutes of quiet rest after learning can significantly improve retention. This suggests that our constant activity and stimulation may interfere with memory formation. After important learning experiences, building in time for quiet reflection allows your brain to process and consolidate. The modern tendency toward continuous engagement, immediately checking phones after meetings, filling every moment with input, may come at a cognitive cost. These small windows of rest throughout the day provide consolidation opportunities that complement sleep's larger-scale memory work. Fact 73, Dopamine enhancement. The neurotransmitter dopamine enhances memory for rewarding experiences. When you encounter something rewarding, food, success, unexpected good fortune, your brain releases dopamine, particularly in regions like the nucleus accumbens and prefrontal cortex. This dopamine signal doesn't just make the experience pleasurable, it also flags the experience as worth remembering and enhances memory encoding. Information associated with reward gets priority in the memory system, encoded more strongly and recalled more easily. This mechanism ensures you remember what's beneficial and how to achieve it again. The anticipation of reward, not just receiving it, triggers dopamine and enhances memory. This explains why gamification can improve learning. Adding reward elements recruits dopamine systems to support memory formation. However, this system can be hijacked by artificial rewards and addictive substances, creating powerful but sometimes maladaptive memories. As you reflect on positive moments from your day, the dopamine associated with those experiences has already tagged them for preferential consolidation, ensuring that the good tends to be well remembered. Fact 74, Microsleep memories. Your brain can create memories during microsleeps, brief moments of unconsciousness. Microsleeps are fleeting episodes lasting just seconds where your brain dips into sleep-like states despite your intention to stay awake. They occur most commonly when you're sleep-deprived but trying to stay alert. During these brief lapses, perception and memory formation are impaired. You might miss information presented during a microsleep. But interestingly, some memory processing can occur even in these brief sleep episodes. The brain doesn't simply shut off but enters a different mode. Understanding microsleeps reveals the brain's constant negotiation between different states and needs. When you're sleep deprived, your brain takes these brief recovery periods whether you want it to or not, stealing moments of rest where it can. The occurrence of microsleeps signals that you desperately need proper sleep. They're a warning sign that your brain cannot sustain wakefulness and that cognitive functions including memory are compromised. Tonight, giving your brain the full, continuous sleep it needs prevents tomorrow's microsleeps and their interference with memory. Fact 75, Survival Priority. Memories associated with survival needs are prioritized for long-term storage. Not all information is equal in your brain's assessment. Information relevant to survival, threats, food sources, safe locations, social alliances, receives preferential treatment. This prioritization reflects evolution's shaping of memory systems. Your ancestors who best remembered dangers and resources outsurvived those with poor memory for survival-relevant information. Today, this ancient prioritization persists, sometimes in puzzling ways. You might easily remember where you found a great restaurant but struggle to remember where you parked. The restaurant memory taps into ancient reward and resource location circuits, while parking locations are evolutionarily novel problems. Emotional memories, as discussed earlier, often relate to survival-relevant situations, explaining their prioritization. Understanding this bias helps make sense of what you naturally remember well and what requires extra effort. Your memory system wasn't designed for modern life's demands but for ancestral challenges. When it seems to fail at modern tasks, it may be succeeding at its evolved function. Fact 76, Memory Complexity. The complexity of a memory determines how distributed it is across the brain. Simple memories might involve relatively few brain regions, while complex memories engage vast networks. A memory of a simple tone might be largely contained in auditory regions, while a memory of a social event involving conversation, faces, emotional reactions, spatial context, and reflections on meaning activates regions throughout the brain. This distribution makes complex memories both rich and resilient. If one brain area is damaged, other components of the memory often survive. But distribution also means complex memories have many components that must be coordinated during retrieval, creating opportunities for partial forgetting or distortion. The brain's ability to coordinate activity across distant regions to reconstruct complex unified experiences is remarkable. As you remember your day, simple sensory moments and complex social interactions all leave their traces, simple memories more localized, complex ones spread across your neural landscape like constellations spanning the sky. Fact 77, Episodic Memory. Your episodic memory allows mental time travel to relive past experiences. This remarkable ability lets you revisit previous moments, re-experiencing them from your perspective. When you remember your last birthday, you don't just know facts about it, you can mentally transport yourself back to that day, seeing, hearing, and feeling aspects of the experience. This capacity for mental time travel is what makes human memory unique. It provides continuity of self across time and allows you to learn from past experiences in rich, contextualized ways. Episodic memory also lets you imagine future events by recombining elements of past experiences. The same brain systems activate when remembering the past and imagining the future. This temporal flexibility supports planning and decision-making. Damage to episodic memory systems can leave individuals unmoored in time, unable to richly remember their past or imagine their future. As you drift towards sleep tonight, your episodic memories of the day remain accessible, ready to be revisited tomorrow and integrated into your ongoing life story. Fact 78, Circadian Memory. Memory formation is influenced by circadian rhythms and time of day. Your cognitive abilities fluctuate across the 24-hour cycle, following circadian rhythms. Most people show peak learning and memory performance during late morning and early afternoon, with decline in the late afternoon and evening. These fluctuations reflect changes in alertness, hormone levels, and brain function across the day. Importantly, what you learn at peak circadian times gets encoded more effectively. The circadian timing system also influences memory consolidation during sleep, with different sleep stages predominating at different times of night. Disrupting circadian rhythms through shift work, jet lag, or irregular schedules impairs both encoding and consolidation. Understanding your personal chronotype, whether you're naturally a morning or evening person, can help you schedule important learning during your optimal windows. The circadian organization of memory reflects how deeply our cognitive functions are embedded in biological cycles, linked to the planet's rotation and the ancient rhythms of light and dark. Fact 79, Verbalization Effects. The act of verbalizing an experience can enhance or distort its memory. Putting experiences into words engages language areas of the brain and can strengthen memory traces by adding verbal codes to perceptual memories. Describing an event helps organize and clarify it, potentially improving recall. However, verbalization can also distort memory, particularly for nonverbal information like faces. Studies show that describing a face immediately after seeing it impairs later recognition. The verbal description overshadows the visual memory, and since words capture faces imperfectly, memory suffers. This verbal overshadowing effect reveals that different types of information are optimally encoded in different formats. Not everything translates well to language. Some memories, sensory experiences, emotional states, physical skills, resist verbalization and might even be degraded by it. The relationship between language and memory is complex. Words can clarify and strengthen some memories while distorting or replacing others. As you reflect on your day silently before sleep, you might be allowing memories to consolidate in their natural formats rather than forcing them into verbal descriptions. Fact 80, Prediction Errors. Your brain uses prediction errors to decide what's worth remembering. Your brain constantly generates predictions about what will happen next based on past experience. When reality matches predictions, minimal encoding occurs, the situation is understood and requires no new learning. But when predictions fail, when something unexpected happens, attention sharpens and memory encoding increases. These prediction errors signal that your current models are incomplete and need updating. The surprise triggers enhanced encoding of the unexpected information. This explains why novel and unexpected events are remembered better than routine, predictable ones. Your memory system is essentially a prediction machine that updates itself when predictions fail. This surprise-driven encoding is efficient, focusing memory resources on information that changes your understanding rather than redundantly storing what you already know. As you review your day, the moments that stand out are likely those that violated expectations, where prediction errors triggered the enhanced encoding that makes those moments memorable while routine moments slip away unnoticed. Fact 81, Sequential Consolidation. Memory consolidation during sleep follows a specific sequence across sleep stages. The architecture of sleep, its progression through different stages, isn't random but appears optimized for memory processing. Early in the night, slow-wave sleep predominates, which is crucial for consolidating declarative memories like facts and events. During these deep stages, the hippocampus and cortex engage in coordinated replay and transfer of information. Later in the night, REM sleep becomes more prominent, which appears particularly important for procedural memories and emotional processing. The different stages seem to handle different aspects of memory, with the night's progression allowing sequential processing of various memory types. This explains why full nights of sleep, allowing complete cycles through all stages, produce better memory than truncated sleep. Even if you get deep sleep, cutting short REM periods impairs certain memory types. The elegant choreography of sleep stages reflects how evolution has optimized this unconscious period for the complex work of memory consolidation. Fact 82, Entorhinal cortex. The entorhinal cortex serves as a gateway between the hippocampus and cortex. This region, adjacent to the hippocampus, plays a crucial role in memory formation and spatial navigation. Information flowing from sensory cortical areas passes through the entorhinal cortex before reaching the hippocampus, and information being consolidated from hippocampus to cortex passes back through it. The entorhinal cortex contains grid cells, which fire in geometric patterns as you move through space, creating a neural coordinate system for navigation. These cells help explain how spatial information becomes integrated with memory. Damage to the entorhinal cortex, which occurs early in Alzheimer's disease, severely impairs memory formation and navigation. The entorhinal cortex demonstrates how memory involves coordinated activity across multiple brain structures, each contributing specialized processing. As you rest tonight, this gateway region participates in the transfer of memories from temporary hippocampal storage to permanent cortical repositories, facilitating the consolidation that allows memories to endure. Fact 83: Statistical learning. Your memory system learns statistical patterns in the environment automatically. Without conscious effort or intention, your brain detects regularities and frequencies in your experiences. You implicitly learn which letters commonly follow others in words, which events typically occur together, which patterns predict others. This statistical learning operates below awareness but profoundly influences perception, comprehension, and prediction. It's how infants learn language structure before understanding words, detecting statistical patterns in the speech stream. It's how you develop intuitions about what's normal or expected in various contexts. This automatic pattern extraction creates implicit knowledge that guides behavior without explicit recall. The process reveals memory is not just storing individual experiences but continuously extracting structure from the environment. Your brain is essentially a sophisticated pattern detector, always learning statistical regularities that make the world more predictable and navigable. This happens constantly, effortlessly, outside awareness, and tonight during sleep, these extracted patterns will consolidate, refining your implicit understanding of the world's structure. Fact 84: Internal state cues. Memories can be cued by internal states like hunger or fatigue. External cues like smells or songs can trigger memories, but internal physiological and psychological states also serve as powerful retrieval cues. Being hungry might remind you of a time you were similarly hungry, creating associative bridges across time based on matching internal conditions. A particular fatigue might recall previous experiences of that specific tiredness. Emotional states work this way too. Feeling anxious might trigger memories of other anxious times, creating mood-congruent memory where your current state biases what you recall. This state-dependent retrieval has important implications. When depressed, people more easily recall depressive memories, which reinforces the depression, a vicious cycle. Understanding internal states as memory cues explains why physical and emotional self-awareness aids memory control. By recognizing your current state, you can anticipate which memories it might trigger and potentially intervene. As you settle into the relaxed state before sleep, this particular constellation of sensations might cue other peaceful evening memories, creating a sense of familiarity and comfort. Fact 85: Circadian learning windows. The brain's memory capacity increases when you learn in aligned circadian windows. Learning something when your circadian system is primed for cognitive activity produces stronger encoding than learning the same material during circadian troughs. This goes beyond simple alertness. Circadian rhythms modulate the molecular machinery of memory formation. Proteins involved in synaptic plasticity follow circadian patterns, being more abundant and active at certain times. For most people, the late morning provides an optimal learning window, though individual chronotypes vary. Night shift workers and those with disrupted schedules face challenges because they're often trying to learn during circadian phases evolved for rest, working against biological optimization. Respecting circadian organization, sleeping at night, engaging in cognitively demanding tasks during peak circadian phases, supports memory and cognition. As you prepare for sleep during your biological night, you're aligning with ancient rhythms that optimize the division between encoding and consolidation, waking and sleeping, activity and rest. Fact 86, Source Memory. Your source memory tracks where and when you learned information. Beyond remembering facts, you often remember their provenance. Did you read this in an article? Hear it from a friend? See it in a documentary? This source monitoring allows you to assess memory credibility. Information from reliable sources carries more weight than information from questionable ones. Source memory declines with age and fatigue, which is why older adults and tired people are more susceptible to false memories and misinformation. They remember information but forget where it came from, making it hard to assess reliability. Source amnesia, remembering information but not its source, can lead to inadvertent plagiarism or confused attribution. You might remember a clever idea but forget you heard it from someone else, misattributing it to yourself. The prefrontal cortex supports source monitoring, and its impairment explains why executive function decline affects source memory. As you reflect on your day, notice that some memories carry clear source information while others present facts unmoored from their origins, floating free in your mind. Fact 87, Schema distortions. Memory schemas can sometimes lead to systematic distortions based on expectations. While schemas aid memory by providing organizational frameworks, they can also cause errors. You might remember schema-consistent information that wasn't actually present, filling gaps with typical details. If you're told about a professor's office and later asked what you remember, you might recall books and papers even if they weren't mentioned. These details fit your professor's office schema. Such distortions aren't random errors but systematic biases toward typical or expected information. Legal testimony can be affected when witnesses remember what typically happens rather than what actually happened. The schema-driven reconstruction feels like accurate memory, complete with subjective confidence. This reveals memory's constructive nature. You don't retrieve pure records but assemble memories from fragments and schemas, a process usually serving you well but occasionally introducing plausible fictions. Understanding this helps you maintain appropriate skepticism about details, especially those that closely match expectations, distinguishing confident reconstruction from verified fact. Fact 88, Teaching effect. The act of teaching something to others strengthens your own memory of it. When you explain information to someone else, you engage in deep processing, organizing the material, finding clear explanations, anticipating questions, connecting ideas. This elaborative rehearsal creates multiple retrieval routes and strengthens understanding. Teaching also provides feedback about what you truly understand versus what you only superficially grasp. Struggling to explain something reveals gaps in your knowledge, prompting deeper processing to fill those gaps. This effect is so robust that even expecting to teach information, without actually teaching it, improves learning compared to studying for a personal test. The enhanced encoding from teaching explains the saying to teach is to learn twice. Students who tutor others benefit as much as or more than those receiving tutoring. This principle has practical applications. After learning something, try explaining it to someone, or even to yourself out loud. The act of putting knowledge into teachable form consolidates and clarifies it, creating lasting, well-organized memory traces. Fact 89, Model updating memories. Your brain preferentially remembers information that updates your mental models. Not all information is equally valuable. Facts that confirm what you already know add little, while information that changes your understanding is precious. Your memory system appears sensitive to this distinction, allocating resources preferentially to information that updates or revises existing models. Surprising information, inconsistent with expectations, gets encoded more strongly because it signals needed model revision. This updating bias makes memory an active learning system rather than a passive recording device. It explains why novel information in familiar domains is well remembered. You have enough context to recognize its significance, but it's different enough to require model adjustment. Completely novel information in unfamiliar domains might not be encoded well because you lack frameworks to recognize what's significant. The optimal learning zone involves material that's partly familiar and partly new, allowing you to recognize relevance while requiring model updates. This principle operates automatically, shaping what you remember based on informational value. Fact 90, Stress hormones. Memory consolidation is impaired by stress hormones like cortisol. While acute stress during encoding can enhance memory for the stressful event itself, chronic stress and elevated cortisol impair memory formation broadly. Cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, affects the hippocampus particularly strongly. Chronic stress can actually shrink the hippocampus and damage its neurons, reducing memory capacity. Even without structural damage, elevated cortisol interferes with the molecular processes underlying consolidation. This explains why chronic stress, anxiety, and depression impair learning and memory. The relationship between stress and memory is complex. Brief stress enhances memory for the stressor but impairs memory for other concurrent information and disrupts consolidation afterward. Chronic stress creates a state of cognitive impairment where new learning becomes difficult. Managing stress isn't just about comfort but about protecting cognitive function. As you release the day's stresses and settle into peaceful rest, declining cortisol levels create optimal conditions for consolidation, allowing your brain to preserve the day's experiences without stress hormones interfering. Fact 91, Mammillary bodies. The mammillary bodies in the brain play a role in recollection and recognition. These small, paired structures are part of the limbic system and connect the hippocampus with other brain regions involved in memory. Damage to the mammillary bodies, often through thiamine deficiency in chronic alcoholism, produces severe memory impairment called Korsakoff's syndrome. Patients with this condition can't form new episodic memories and show extensive retrograde amnesia for memories formed before the damage. The mammillary bodies appear particularly important for recollective memory, the vivid, detailed recall of personal experiences. They may help coordinate the retrieval of contextual details that make episodic memories feel like re-experiencing rather than just knowing. These structures demonstrate that memory involves a network of interconnected regions, each contributing specialized processing. Damage to any node in this network can disrupt the entire system. The mammillary bodies, though small and often overlooked, play an essential role in the memory networks that allow you to maintain your sense of continuous existence across time. Fact 92, Automatic extraction. Your memory system automatically extracts commonalities across experiences. This process, called gist extraction or prototype formation, allows you to develop general concepts from specific instances. After seeing many dogs, you extract the commonalities that define dogness even though no two dogs are identical. This automatic abstraction operates without conscious effort or intent. You don't deliberately analyze common features, your memory system does this as a natural part of processing experiences. The extracted generalities are often more useful than specific instances. Knowing general properties of dogs helps you recognize and interact with novel dogs you've never seen. This abstraction allows you to go beyond memorized specifics to generalize appropriately to new situations. The process reveals memory as fundamentally oriented toward the future, extracting patterns that will help you navigate novel situations rather than simply recording the past. Tonight, as memories consolidate, this abstraction process continues, finding commonalities across the day's experiences and integrating them with existing general knowledge. Fact 93, Movement and memory. Memories linked to movement and spatial navigation are particularly robust. The entwining of memory with spatial cognition is ancient and fundamental. The hippocampus, crucial for episodic memory, evolved originally for spatial navigation. In mammals from rats to humans, navigation and memory are intimately connected. Memories formed during movement, while navigating space, or involving spatial contexts tend to be particularly durable. This explains why the method of loci memory technique works so well. It leverages spatial memory's strength. Physical activity during or after learning enhances memory, partly because movement engages systems that evolved together with memory. Some forms of dementia show early spatial disorientation alongside memory problems, reflecting their neural overlap. When you remember events, spatial context often forms the scaffolding, where you provides a structure for what happened. This spatial grounding of memory suggests why virtual environments sometimes feel less memorable than physical ones, and why environments rich in distinctive spatial features support memory better than bland, undifferentiated spaces. Fact 94, Waking Reactivation. The brain uses spontaneous reactivation during waking rest to consolidate memories. Memory consolidation isn't confined to sleep but occurs during quiet waking periods too. When you finish an experience and rest quietly, your brain spontaneously reactivates the neural patterns associated with that experience. This wakeful replay strengthens memories, similar to sleep replay but occurring during conscious rest. Brief rest periods after learning, just sitting quietly for 10 to 15 minutes, significantly improve retention compared to immediately engaging in new activities. Modern life's constant stimulation may interfere with these natural consolidation opportunities. Immediately switching to new activities after important experiences creates interference and denies your brain the processing time it needs. The increasingly rare practice of sitting quietly, doing nothing, provides cognitive benefits that extend beyond relaxation. This spontaneous reactivation during rest reveals that consolidation is an ongoing process occurring in any low-interference period, whether sleeping or quietly awake. Building rest periods into your day supports memory just as sleep does. Fact 95, Face memory. Your memory for faces is processed by specialized regions in the fusiform gyrus. This area, called the fusiform face area, responds selectively to faces with much greater activity than to other visual stimuli. Faces are so important for social life that dedicated neural machinery evolved for processing and remembering them. Most people are remarkably good at recognizing faces, even after years and despite changes in age, hair, or expression. This ability relies on specialized processing that extracts configural information, the spatial relationships between facial features, rather than just individual features. Damage to face processing areas produces prosopagnosia, face blindness, where individuals can't recognize familiar faces despite normal vision and memory. Interestingly, face recognition operates largely outside conscious access. You can instantly recognize someone without being able to articulate how. This automatic, specialized face memory reflects how crucial individual recognition has been throughout human evolution, supporting the complex social networks that define human societies. Fact 96, Systems consolidation. Memories become increasingly dependent on the cortex and less on the hippocampus over time. This process, called systems consolidation, involves the gradual transfer of memories from hippocampal to cortical storage. Initially, when a memory is fresh, retrieving it requires hippocampal activity to coordinate reactivation of distributed cortical traces. Over weeks to years, as the memory is consolidated and rehearsed, cortical regions establish direct connections with each other, reducing hippocampal dependence. Eventually, old memories can be retrieved even if the hippocampus is damaged. This explains the temporal gradient in retrograde amnesia. Hippocampal damage impairs recent memories more than remote ones. The transfer process isn't instantaneous but gradual, occurring over multiple sleep-wake cycles. Recent research suggests that even very old memories might maintain some hippocampal dependence, especially for vivid episodic details. Systems consolidation reveals memory as a dynamic process where representations migrate across brain structures over time, becoming progressively more integrated into cortical knowledge networks and less dependent on the hippocampal binding that initially held them together. Fact 97, Forgetting and creativity. The act of forgetting can enhance creativity by reducing interference from old ideas. While remembering seems obviously valuable, forgetting serves important functions too, including freeing you from rigid adherence to past solutions. When you forget irrelevant details or outdated approaches, you're more likely to discover novel solutions unbiased by previous attempts. Creative thinking often requires getting past conventional approaches, and forgetting helps by removing these mental constraints. Some research suggests that creative individuals show more flexible forgetting, able to let go of unsuccessful approaches and try new ones. The relationship between memory and creativity is complex. You need to remember relevant knowledge but also need to avoid being trapped by it. Optimal creativity might involve a balance, strong memory for useful knowledge and skills but flexible forgetting of rigid approaches and irrelevant details. As you sleep tonight, the selective consolidation process preserves important information while releasing unnecessary details, potentially freeing tomorrow's thinking from today's constraints, allowing fresh perspectives to emerge. Fact 98: Environmental change. Your memory system prioritizes encoding changes in the environment over static information. Constant, unchanging stimuli fade from awareness and memory through adaptation. Your brain essentially asks what's new, and dedicates resources to changes and novelty while backgrounding consistency. This makes evolutionary sense. Changes signal potential opportunities or threats requiring response, while constant features can be safely ignored. A steady background hum disappears from awareness, but a sudden sound captures attention and memory. This change detection underlies many memory phenomena. Novel information attracts encoding resources. Distinctiveness aids memory. Items that stand out from their context are well remembered. This principle explains why routine days blur together while distinctive events stand out. Your memory isn't designed to record everything faithfully but to highlight what changes, what's different, what's potentially significant. Understanding this bias toward change helps explain both what you naturally remember and what requires deliberate effort to encode. Static, consistent, routine information needs extra rehearsal because it doesn't naturally trigger the memory system's attention. Fact 99: Regular deep sleep. Memory consolidation is enhanced by achieving deep, slow-wave sleep regularly. This sleep stage, characterized by high amplitude, slow electrical waves in the brain, is particularly crucial for consolidating declarative memories. During slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus and cortex engage in coordinated dialogue, with the hippocampus replaying recent experiences and the cortex gradually integrating them into existing knowledge structures. The amount of slow-wave sleep you get correlates with memory performance. More slow-wave sleep, better consolidation. Unfortunately, slow-wave sleep declines with age, which contributes to age-related memory changes. Factors that increase slow-wave sleep include regular sleep schedules, adequate total sleep time, exercise, and sleeping in cool, dark, quiet environments. The deep sleep reflects both the large electrical waves and how difficult it is to awaken someone from this stage. It's during these deep phases that your brain is most intensely engaged in memory consolidation work, processing the day's experiences and integrating them into the vast web of existing memories. Fact 100: Dynamic reconstruction. The experience of remembering involves a dynamic reconstruction, not a static playback. This final fact encapsulates a crucial insight about memory's nature. When you remember, you're not retrieving a file or playing back a recording. You're actively reconstructing an experience from distributed traces, schemas, and inferences. Each act of remembering is a new construction, assembled in the present moment from available materials. This explains memory's malleability, its vulnerability to distortion, and its constructive errors. But it also explains memory's flexibility and functionality. Because memory is reconstructive, it can adapt to current needs, emphasizing relevant details and integrating new understanding. The reconstruction draws on everything you've learned since the original experience, allowing your current wisdom to inform how you interpret the past. This dynamic quality means your memories evolve with you, maintaining their relevance across your changing life. As you drift into sleep tonight, the day's experiences await tomorrow's reconstructions, when you'll gather their scattered traces and assemble them anew, creating living memories that serve your ongoing journey through life.